increase your revenue inside of your service-based business. And we're talking about going through and mapping out client flows. So let me just make sure that I have pretty good volume everywhere here. Well, not everywhere. I'll just check on YouTube, make sure we have some good audio. Okay, good. All right, awesome. So we have some good audio. So if you are tuning in live to this session, please just let me know inside the chat where exactly you're tuning in from and what type of business that you have. So again, today we're talking about mapping out your client flow and why mapping out your client flow is actually important and how you can go through and improve your client flow that will in turn help you to be able to go and earn some extra money. So first off, exactly what is a client flow? Now, I do just want to do a couple of things too, because we're going live every single Tuesday. So every Tuesday at noon, I'm going live here in all the places, right? I'm going live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all of that goodness. So definitely, if you have any questions along the way, make sure you drop any questions that you have inside the chat. If you're looking or want to look at the video from YouTube, you can go to Kaniqua J YouTube channel and make sure you subscribe because again, I drop new release videos every single Thursday and then I go live every Tuesday. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this session, but I am bringing this session to you from HoneyBook, right? I have to share about HoneyBook because HoneyBook is my favorite CRM of choice. This is what I use to be able to go through and do my contracts, my client flows, my automation, all of that goodness. Invoicing. I do all of that inside of HoneyBook. So if you want to give HoneyBook a try, the link is in the description box below where you can get a free trial to HoneyBook as well as get 50% off your first year. And then I also do send you my free HoneyBook Smart File template. Okay. This is a template you can use for sending out like your brochures and booking client scheduling. Okay. So again, if you are going through and you are tuning in, you can let me know inside of the chat. If you do come back and you want to view this as a replay, just hashtag replay and just let me know. So first of all, I just want to talk about exactly what is a client flow and how exactly is this going to go through and benefit your particular business. So basically what a client flow is, it's the process of you actually going through and delivering your services and you're delivering your services and deliverables to your clients. So this is going to include all of the behind the scenes work that you have to do to actually do those, deliver those particular services and how you actually go through and run your business. So that is in essence what the client flow is. So why is it actually important for you to go through and have a client flow in your business? And I'm going to go over, there's going to be 5 stages of a client flow that I recommend that every service-based business they actually implement into their business. And then again, you can use different tools to be able to go through and implement some of the things that you want to, which in most of my examples, I'm going to use HoneyBook, but the things that I'm sharing inside of this session, you can pretty much apply this to any business that you have. So one of the reasons why it's really important to have some type of client flow in your business is because it's going to help you to be able to take the load off, right? To take the load off of doing everything manually in your business. And then it also makes it where you can go through and automate certain process because you know what those processes are because you actually have them mapped out, as well as it will help you to be able to go through and increase your revenue because now using this process that I'm going to be sharing with you, you will be able to go through and know where your downfalls are in your business and where you can go through and make some type of improvements. Okay. So again, if you are tuning in live, just go ahead and make sure that you do comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay. So we're talking about mapping out your client flows for your service-based business. So one of the first things that you want to map out, this is step number 1, is going to be going through and capturing new business. Okay. So most people, they know this part, right? Most businesses, you kind of have this stage down pat, is capturing new business. This is where you'll actually start getting inquiries into your business. This is where people are going to be going through and requesting maybe your brochures, your services. This is how you're going to be able to bring in leads to your business, right? So that's your first stage, is capturing new business. Now, when you're capturing new business, of course, it's a couple of things that go into this. This is how you go through and get in front of your target audience. So however you decide to market your business, that is part of your first stage of capturing new business. You also, in this particular stage, this is where you communicate your value. This is where you talk about your services, the benefit of your services, all of that goodness. And this is how you're going through again and driving traffic to your particular business and how you're going through and responding to leads. So one way that you can go through and you can, so when you're thinking about this stage, so you're just come follow along with me, okay? So if you're going through and thinking about the stage of capturing new business, what exactly does that look like? So what do you do in your business? Like, so what is the front end of your business? What does that look like for you to capture new business? So is this you posting onto social media, doing maybe Instagram Reels? Is this you doing blog posts to kind of bring in traffic? Is this you creating some type of lead magnet and getting it out some way? Is this email marketing? What does that look like on the front end? Then you want to think about the back end. Okay, so what is the back end? And underneath this video, wherever you're watching, unless you're watching it on Instagram, there is a free resource that you can download, which is going to give you each stage, and then it's going to help you to be able to take the information that what I'm talking about, and for you to be able to kind of put it in a graph form. You can download the graph, no opt-in required. You can actually get that depending on where you're everywhere except for Instagram, right? You can download that resource. So when you're talking about new capture, so you have your front end. Now you think about your back end. And that's what I want you to think about in each one of the stages, by the way, is I want you to think about your front end and I want you to think about your back end and then opportunities for improvement. So in that new capture business stage, you have your back end. So how does that actually work on the back end? So like, I'm gonna give you an example. So let's say you're using Instagram to be able to generate leads into your business, right? Nowadays, what do you see a lot of people doing is, comment keyword checklist and they get that free checklist, right? And the AI bot basically sends them the link to that checklist. Okay. So that's something that's considered on the back end. A lot of people are using tools like MiniChat to actually go through and have that done. So that's a back end thing. But what if you're not using something like that? Maybe you're just telling people to like, hey, go click link in bio. Even though LinkedIn bio's conversion rates are extremely, extremely lower than having mini chat to do and use a bot, right? So that may fall into your areas of opportunity. That was just one example. So however you're going through and you're capturing in leads, you want to think about how can I make this better? How can I improve this process that maybe I can go through and convert at a higher level? So maybe what you're doing on the front end, you're doing a lot of marketing on the front end, but your back end systems, they might not be all the way together where they're able to go through and really convert for you. Okay. So maybe you need to use some type of automation that when someone goes to your website, they put an inquiry on your website and maybe they automatically get some type of brochure or they automatically get some type of schedule or booking link. So you want to think about what that actually looks like for you and the opportunities of in that particular category, which is capture new business. How could you actually go through and capture more business? Okay. Now, keep in mind, even when we're talking about capture new business, this is why a lot of times going through and automating things are important because most people, they actually end up working. So let's say you have like, for example, I have a website design business. I actually didn't even introduce myself. My name is Kaniqua. For those of you guys that do not know me, my name is Kaniqua, CEO of K&D Jones Client Services, LLC, where we help female solopreneurs and female entrepreneurs with small businesses actually level up their business online through website design, as well as streamline workflows through using HoneyBook and like systems, right? All right, so let's say, for example, I'm gonna use myself for example, you have a website design business, right? A website design business. Someone wants to go through and they need a website. Maybe someone puts an inquiry on my website, they need a website. If I don't have any type of automation built in, that person may move on to the next person that can go through and help them with a website because it may not necessarily, depending on how they found you, they might not necessarily want to know that they want to work with you in particular. They're just kind of searching around and try to get prices. And they're typically going to go with the person that responds back to them first. And that's why having automation and that type of stuff is going to help you to be able to go through and increase your conversion rates as well. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. We're going to actually go into stage 2. So stage 2 is going to actually be the quality of your leads. Stage 1 was capture new business. Stage 2 is quality of leads. So how do you actually go through and determine the quality of the actual leads that you have, that you're bringing in for your service-based business? So this is where you're going to want to determine whether or not that lead that came to your website, so you captured that business, however you got it from social media, you got them from writing a blog post, YouTube, wherever you got that lead. Now you want to see is whether or not that lead is actually a quality lead. Like, is this lead someone that you want to work with and that they'll be a good fit? So a couple of ways that you can go through and do that is that you can have some type of maybe questionnaire form, right? Maybe this is something, it could be a contact form, questionnaire form, whatever type of form that you go through and call it, but it's asking qualifier questions to determine, is this person a good fit, right? And those questions could be various things. It really just depends on your business. Some of those questions may include maybe the revenue, that maybe it's a revenue thing. Maybe how much money do they make in their particular business to see if they're a good fit, because maybe you work with clients that make 10K plus months and above, right? You don't start with starter clients, or maybe there's a particular pain point that you're working with clients to resolve, okay? So you want to see whether or not that client is actually a good fit for you. And then you want to have further communication with that particular lead. Again, you could do questionnaire forms, you could do contact forms, you can even do discovery calls, because that's kind of a lot of times a part of the process, especially as a service-based business, that you may decide, hey, a discovery call, I have to chat with you, right? You go through, you put an inquiry, and I need to chat with you to see whether or not you're a good fit. Because, for example, again, if you have, let's say you have a virtual assistant business. If you have a virtual assistant business, you're probably not going to take on every single client that puts in an inquiry with you, right? There's some type of process that you go through to actually qualify that particular lead. And then you want to make sure that your services that you have, that they can solve that particular client's pain points, as well as to that the price actually goes through and it actually fits them, right? Because it may resolve their pain points, but if you're so far off on the price, then it may not actually work for you, okay? So that's another way, and just again, my examples that I'm using. So those are things that you want to look for in stage 2, okay? It's going to be the quality of the lead. So you want to look at, what does your front end look like as far as the quality of the lead? How are you determining on the front end how you qualify that lead? Then on the back end, how are you going through and determining the quality of that lead? So is it questionnaire forms like I mentioned? Is it discovery calls? Is it some type of nurture sequence or email sequence? Something like that. What does that look like on the back end? And then where can you actually go through and make opportunities? Where can you make some type of improvements? And what I like about this, so we went through, because I see there's more of you guys coming in here. So we went through stage number 1, which is capture the new leads. We went through stage number 2, which is quality of the leads. And when we get to stage 5 is like the most important part that I feel like everyone, I'm not gonna say everyone, especially if you're a new business, that you miss. Like, me personally, stage number 5, I actually missed as well too, because I wasn't thinking about it like that. And so when you go through and implement each one of these stages, that's going to help you to be able to grow your service-based business. I think a lot of times when we start our businesses, I know that was the thing for me, is when I started my business, I knew the thing that I wanted to sell. I knew the thing that I wanted to go through and help people with. But some of these little things, as far as implementation of certain systems and workflows and things like that, sometimes those things are missed, but those things are golden to when it comes to actually going through and helping you to be able to grow your business. So definitely take those things in consideration. So let's move on to step number, what step are we on? We're on step number 3, which is booking clients. Okay. So pretty much, so you've captured the lead. So you got the lead into the door, you went through and you qualified them. So you're like, okay, yeah, this person is a good fit for me. Now that third stage is actually going through that process, that workflow of actually booking the clients. Like, so they said, okay, they're ready to pay you, they're ready to work with you. How does that actually go through and look? So booking the client stage is making everything official. It's going through and making sure that you send them out some type of proposal of the service. What exactly are you going to do for them? How much is it going to cost them per month or per project? Having them sign up on a contract so everything is fully legit, invoicing, payments, etc. How does that actually look, right? So how does that look on that front end? How does that look for this client to go through and be able to get all this stuff for you, right? I know before I was actually going through, and again, using HoneyBook as an example, but before I was actually going through and using HoneyBook, I was using multiple systems to kind of get that part done. Like I was going through, and what was I using at the time? I want to say that I was using like Square for invoicing. I was using Acuity Scheduler to scheduling things. I was using Adobe Sign to actually sign contracts. Everything was everywhere, and I was just wasting a whole bunch of time to get that process, that stage done. So when I started using HoneyBook, I was able to go through and seamlessly put all of these things together. But these are things that you want to think about when you're going through each stage and how it makes the client feel when they're going through these stages. When I use HoneyBook, now I can put all of these things into basically what's called Smart File. I could put the proposal, I could put the contract, invoice, and they could pay everything online, and I have everything done in one swoop. So now the client feels relieved that they don't have to go through and spend so many times and looking through their email to get this document for here, then that document from here. Then I have to check and see if they signed the contract before I sent the invoice. We don't have to do all that. We can get everything done just by using HoneyBook. So when you're in that stage 3, you want to think about how am I going to actually go through and book the clients, and on the front end to the client, because this is what it's about. It's about the client flow and the client experience. I found that when you have a client flow and when you have a client flow, client workflow, and it's going to help you level up your client experience. And people that have paid you once are more likely to come back and pay you again, or refer you to someone else. And so if they've had a really good experience with you, they're more likely, again, going to refer you to someone else. And so you want to level up that experience where they feel like, okay, yes, they did a good job on this project, but the experience level, it was top notch, right? So in stage 3, which is you're booking your clients, this is where you're going through. And again, you're figuring out how you're going to get that lead to actually go through and sign that client, sign the contract, how you're going to get them to pay the invoice and all of that goodness. So, and some things that you'll include in stage 3 is going to be like your communication. How are you going to communicate about getting this project started, right? What does that process look like? Is that back and forth emails? I mean, what exactly does that look like? What does the contract look like? What is an invoice? What is deposits? All of that is going to be included in that stage. So you want to look at, again, what you're doing in this stage in booking your clients, like how you're booking your clients now. What does that look like on the front end to your clients? Like this is what we're doing. So again, front end, back end opportunities, right? And again, there's a resource that you can download, no opt-in required, that is underneath this video, unless you are watching on Instagram. If you're watching on Instagram, just DM me and I will send it to you. But if you're watching everywhere else, you can download this. So you'll have the graph and you can go through and fill out these categories, okay? And it will help you to be able to visually, if you're my visual people, you will be able to go through and you can see it, right? So for your booking client stage, again, you're going to write front end. So you have your front end. What does this look like currently for your front end? And then your back end. What does this look like? What's happening on the back end of the system? Are you having to do everything manually? If you're having to do everything manually on the back end to be able to fulfill this particular stage, then I recommend that you use some type of system to help you to be able to do that. And that's where you come up with your opportunities, right? Again, if you have any questions, you can certainly let me know. It is warm in here. It is warm in here. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know, and I'll be happy to go through and answer those questions for you. So then we're going to talk about stage number 4. And this is, like I said, and just doing these particular things. When you actually go through, like I'm a visual person, so I like to kind of write these things out, even if it's something just writing out on a notebook. But I like to go through and kind of write these things out, because then once you kind of write it out, you can see clearly a lot of times the areas that are missed and where you can actually go through and improve something, right? And improve a particular area. So in stage number 4 is managing the project, right? So you've captured the new business, you qualified the lead, you book the client. How are you going to manage the project, right? So if you have a website design, maybe you have a virtual assistant business, maybe you have a tax business, maybe you are caterer, florist, whatever. How are you going to go through and how are you going to actually manage the project now? Now, is everything, again, that you're doing for this project, is everything actually going through and being managed manually, right? And there's certain things that when you manage, depending on your business type, that you may have to manage manually, right? But we also want to go through and minimize it where we can. So this is how you're going to actually deliver those deliverables or services to your particular client. So this can go for, how is the client communication actually organized? So how are you communicating back and forth about this particular project? And even though, like I said, we use HoneyBook where the client, they have their own client portal, so we can go through and we can manage client communication through there, as well as they can upload their documents to us. We also send out questionnaires. So like for our website design, we send them out a questionnaire for them to go through and complete, to give us more details about the project. And everything that we do is pretty much inside of HoneyBook for the most part. Now, I do use Trello for my productivity tool. So I do manage like my task per se, as far as creating or managing the project on the back end for myself inside of Trello, where I can put each step of everything I have to do. We do also create a Trello board for our clients for them to go through and just to view. But it's really just for them to kind of understand, okay, this is the kickoff for your website. This is when well, they've already made the first payment, but this is when your next payment, your kickoff payment is for your website. And this is where your final payment should be due for your website. And these are the things that you need to do. So just make sure that you've completed this questionnaire that we sent to you through HoneyBook, and then any type of inspiration, all of that, make sure that all of that is uploaded into HoneyBook. So it's really just for them, just to kind of give them a way to go through and manage the project, which is a little bit easier. But again, things that you want to think about when you're going through and managing your projects. This also includes like scheduling meetings. So if you are doing some type of work that requires you to actually talk to the customer or client after you've already gone through and booked that particular service, like what exactly does that look like? And keeping track of the actual deliverables, what does that actually look like? So in this particular phase of managing the clients, again, this is where you're thinking about all of those particular things. Okay. So you're thinking about maybe even payments. So maybe the client made a deposit to you, but how are you going to get the rest of your money? So like, when is the next payment due? Are those payments actually sent to the client automatically? Those invoices sent to him automatically, or him or her sent to them automatically? Like, how exactly does that look like? If there has to be any type of edits to the contract, because maybe they added on something that was not originally in that contract, so you got to go through and update it. Like, how exactly, what does that look like? Okay. And that's what you want to think about. So you want to write down your front end systems, or your front end of how that actually looks like to the customer, to the client, and then your back end, what exactly does that look like as well? So like for us too, what we've done using HoneyBook, of course, like I said, I'm using the example, but using HoneyBook, one of the ways, like I said, we have it where they automatically get those notifications when those next payments are due. Our due dates for our project based. So typically, like, let's say for website design, we will typically split those up in 3 payments. So it's the to book payment, then the kickoff payment, and then the final payment. And so, but we do have it where they have to put it basically on automatic. So it's automatically taken out when that due date is. So we don't have to necessarily worry about them not paying it unless the funds are there when HoneyBook tries to go through and deduct it. But inside of HoneyBook, it will also send them out reminders of those payments. And then if the payment wasn't go through, it sends them out those notifications as well too. And they've also even added in a new feature where you can add in late payments and stuff like that. So you want to think about that. And of course, when payments are made, they get those notifications as well from us to say, thank you for the payment, and move them through the stage and provide next steps, right? All of that, right? So you want to think about that and how you can build up your back end system. Okay. So that's managing projects. Okay. So again, we covered capture the new business, which most people know how to capture new business. Like that, a lot of times is not necessarily an issue. Even if there are ways that you are tweaking and working through and adding to your capture new business strategy, a lot of entrepreneurs that I come across, they know how to capture new business. Quality of leads This is kind of like when we start kind of falling off a little bit, like right with the quality of leads. So the second stage was quality of leads and the booking clients. When it comes to actually booking the clients, again, this is another part that sometimes people start to fall off on, but just making the little tweaks that we talked about. And this session's recorded, so you can always go back to it. But booking new clients, sometimes that is one of those things that I feel like sometimes we decide to go and just say, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and do it manually in my business, but you don't have to go through and do that manually either. Okay. We talked about managing the project, right? Manage a project. Now, here is the most important part. No, I'm not gonna say the most important part because this is a build-up, right? I don't expect for you to, when you leave this live, for you to just skip to number 5 unless you have done all the other stages. Okay. But the gold is in step number 5. Okay. Now, if you guys have any questions, certainly let me know if you have any questions. But the gold is going to be in this last part. And this is going to be good, especially if you're a service-based business. Like this is what we specialize in, service-based businesses. So this particular tip is going to be stage is maintaining relationships. That is stage number 5, is maintaining relationships, because business is all about relationships that you build with clients, with other associates, with your past clients, current clients, all of them. So going through and being able to go through and manage those or maintain those relationships is going to help you to be able to, number one, be able to grow your business and grow your revenue, right? Because your past clients, the way that you treat your last clients, whether it is from a standpoint of the work that you deliver and or the quality of your client flow and the way that they have experience, because those are two different things. Like a person can really, they can feel that you did a really good job, but the experience of actually working with you might not have been as good. So like, it's like a caveat. Like they will sometimes, like sometimes you'll have people that say, let's say you went somewhere and you rented out like an event space. You might be like, yeah, I enjoy the event space, but it was so hard for me to be able to book it. And then I had to call such and such several times. And then there were certain things that were going wrong before I actually got there. But once we got there, everything was good. But, actually getting to that point was a lot, right? That's what you don't want, because that's what they're going to say to the next person that asks, hey, do you know where an event space is? They're going to give that whole drawn out story that the space was good, but it was a lot to do X, Y, Z, right? So you really want to make sure that both things are really good. Like your services are good, but then also the experience is good as well. Because sometimes if the experience is good, sometimes you might have even bypassed certain little downfalls that you felt like in the actual deliverable could have been just a little bit better, but the person may have just wowed you with the experience altogether. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So how do you actually go through and maintain the relationship, right? Because you've gone through, you worked with that person. Now, up until this point, maybe you have been doing everything in your business. You've pretty much been doing everything manually. So how that might look like on the front end for you right now, it may look like, okay, the project is over. Goodbye. I don't do anything after that, right? Maybe you might send out maybe a last final email to say, hey, this is the deliverable, let me know if you have any questions. Typically, how many times when you say, let me know if you have any questions, does someone really actually respond back to you and say, yeah, sure, I do have questions? Most people don't have any questions, or they're not going to reach back or apply back to that particular email. So you really want to focus in maintaining relationship after you've done everything that you could do in those other stages. The maintaining relationships is going to be gold for your particular business. This is where you go through and you maintain that client communication. So maybe this depends on the service that you have. So let me think of an example. So let's say, for example, I have a website design business, right? So I have a website design business, and a person has gone through and they have booked a service for me for website design, and we did their website design. A couple of things that I can then go through to maintain that relationship. So obviously afterwards they get we do an offboarding call really. So I show them the website, we do all of that goodness, give them the deliverables, but I also give them a guide. It's like 15 pages or so that kind of goes and walks them through, hey, in case you need any changes to your website, but you rather DIY those changes and you don't necessarily want to do website maintenance with us, here's a guide that will give you certain things that you can go through and be able to maintain your website yourself, right? So that's one point. But then taking it a step further, that reaching back out to them, you can schedule maybe inside of HoneyBook, I can schedule tasks back to myself to say, okay, well, after the project is done, maybe in a week or two, maybe follow up with them, make sure everything is still okay with their website, and maybe see if they want to maybe add on SEO services, right? Because maybe now they want to start driving more traffic to the website that we created for them. Or maybe one of the things that I found is the reason why I do HoneyBook setups is because a lot of my clients, when they got website designs, they were missing the whole back end. Like they were doing everything manually. And so most people would say, hey, no, actually, I wanted something kind of like what you got going on. And I'm like, well, that's not part of the website. That's a different system. And so that's how I got into doing HoneyBook setups, because it was a natural progression, right? That's what my clients needed next. They had a beautiful website, but now in order to be able to go through and convert people from their website, they now needed a system to be able to do that. And so that's the next progression. Like, hey, let's go ahead and get your system set up for you. Let's do that next. So you see where I'm kind of leading you to is basically going through and keeping in contact with the people that you're working with, your past clients, to offer them the next best thing, the next thing that they need based off of the service that you have before. So it's not necessarily offering them something that's just totally left, right? You're just offering them something like we do YouTube marketing too, right? So if I have a website client, I'm not saying, hey, sign up for my YouTube marketing class. That doesn't necessarily go, but I'm going to give them and upsell them to something that actually goes through and goes with what exactly they got a service for. This is also testimonial requests. So inside of HoneyBook, what we do is when we deliver the deliverables to the client, we do a service for them, whether this is business consulting, HoneyBook, website design, whatever service that we provide to them, we have a questionnaire form at the end. And we click that little button inside of our automation to go ahead and send that questionnaire form, basically saying that the service is done, but we would like to have a testimonial. If you can give us a testimonial, that would be awesome. This also is like maybe even a referral incentive, right? So this is how we're in this maintaining relationship stage, right? So we're like, okay, I know that I provided you with good service. I know that our deliverables was good. Our service was good. Our client flows, everything was good. I know that you had a very good experience working with us. If you refer anybody to us, here, we'll give you X, Y amount, 10% of whatever we close the contract for or whatnot, right? We'll offer a referral incentive. Also, email nurturing sequences, and again, going through and just cross-selling them with things that actually will benefit them, right? So right now, in your maintaining your relationship stage, what I highly recommend is that you go through and you have your front end, same thing that we talked about. You have your front end, your back end, and your opportunities. I'm going to share my screen and just, let me see. I'm going to share my screen because I do want you guys, this is a free resource that you do not need. It's no opt-in required, none whatsoever. It's in the description box below. This graph right here, okay? This is what you can use to be able to track this, okay? You can download it below for free, no opt-in required. I literally just took this. This is a HoneyBook resource that I use, downloaded, and you can have it, right? So you have the capture new business, you have your quality leads, you book your clients, manage your projects, and maintain relationships. You have your front end, back end, and opportunities. This right here is what you can use from this live that we just talked about, that we just went through. I really just broke down each one of these particular categories and how you can use this chart and client flow to actually go through and level up your business. So you can put in what does your front end look like to your particular clients? What does this actually look like? What does your back end look like? So if you're putting everything here, you're like, this is manual, then this is where you want to start going through, and you want to start implementing automation in some of these parts. Some of these things that you are doing on your back end, it can actually be automated. And a tool, again, that I like to be able to do this is using HoneyBook, right? But again, you don't have to use HoneyBook. So if you use HoneyBook, you don't necessarily want to use HoneyBook, or you don't want to pay for another service, even though it is very affordable, and you get 50% off with my link, which is in the description box below. But if you don't want to do all of that, the information that I shared with you, you can go through and you can implement this with any system that you're pretty much using, right? And then your opportunities, where can you actually go through? And I'm going to stop sharing. Where can you actually go through and improve this, right? Where can you improve your relationship? So when I started going through one of my categories that really got me stomped in my business was the maintaining relationships. I thought about testimonials. I got testimonials, but when I was doing like business consulting, and it's hot in here. It was like my forehead sweating too. I'm hot. They be keeping the heat is on. It's on here. Okay. So the maintaining relationships. Stage for myself, that was one of the things. I didn't do every day. Like I had a lot of opportunities because I was getting testimonials, but I never thought about, when I'm doing business consulting, then why don't I check up with that person to see if they need another consultation to follow up with what it is that we talked about? Because what we talked about and what I told them to implement, did they actually go through and implement it yet? So just to go through and do that. So there are definitely some opportunities that you can make, but going through, like I said, use that resource, that graph, unless you want to draw your own graph, which is totally fine too. Like I just use my notebook and I will typically write that type of stuff out. But again, going through and not dismissing the power of having some type of client flow and putting systems in place. Okay. That is going to be key, putting that in place. All right. So if you have any questions, I guess I'll give you guys a few moments in case you do have any questions, or sometimes people like to give scenarios. So if you have like a scenario or something like that, and if you have that question, let me know. I'm not sure if Instagram, this is the first time I use the Instagram one with StreamYard. So I'm not sure if those comments come through or not. I'm not sure. I don't know. But anyway. All right. So if you have any questions or if you think of anything later, that's totally fine. You can come back to this video and post that comment underneath this video. I do have some more resources for you inside the description box, like I said, along with that guide. And there is some other resources, joining our club, which we actually have a free Just Launch It networking club. So we do free events inside that club. We also have like our feeds for other entrepreneurs where they can post their wins, get accountability, stuff like that. So I try to pop in there. It's actually just a new club I just created about 2 weeks ago. I just created about 2 weeks ago. So it is a brand new club, but you can get started inside that club for free. So all of those links are inside of the description box below. And if you want to know how you could go through and use HoneyBook, so if you come here and you're like, okay, I've heard of this HoneyBook thing. I kind of want to look into this. Inside the description box below, in case I might have forgot to put it up there, but I'll put it up there before here in the next few minutes. But you can join our Jumpstart with HoneyBook. It is one of our, I think it's a 60-minute, 90-minute live that I did where I walk you through what HoneyBook can actually do for you. Okay. So if you're like on the fence and you're not sure if HoneyBook is going to be the right fit for you, you can go through and you can watch the replay of that. So I will put that here. Let's see. I'll put that in the description box too, so you'll be able to have access to that. And I'm going to go ahead. I don't see any questions at this moment. So I will go through and I'm going to get that link here. I'll get the link to Jumpstart and I will update it here for you guys, but I will go through and close out this session. Again, especially if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe to this video. We will be live again next week, next Tuesday, same time, same place, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be going live every single Tuesday for the next couple of months, just showing and talking about a lot of different content. Next week, I'm going to be telling you guys or showing you guys about basically 5 tips to help you go through and improve your website to all of these leads that you're bringing in to make them convert a little bit higher. So I appreciate you guys watching and joining me. Again, like and subscribe to this channel. And until next time, keep learning and keep growing. Bye-bye.